Get ready, because the facts I'm about to reveal regarding the staggering inequality in the United States might just leave you questioning the pride you once held for this global superpower. Poverty in the United States isn't just a number, it's a stark reality that exposes the deep divide within one of the world's most powerful economies. In 2022, the national poverty rate reached 12.6%, but some states shoulder a far heavier burden than others. From the bright lights of New York to the wide open spaces of Texas, we're about to dive deep into the jarring contrast between the prosperity that's often celebrated and the harsh truths lived by millions of Americans. Beneath the grandeur of towering cities and booming industries, entire communities remain trapped in cycles of poverty that seem almost impossible to escape. In a shocking countdown, we'll reveal the 10 states with the highest poverty rates in the nation. Prepare to see a side of the United States that rarely makes the headlines. Texas, often recognized as a hub of energy and technology, presents a stark contrast to its image of wealth. Despite housing major corporations like Atant, Southwest Airlines, and Dell, the state's poverty rate stands at 14%, making it the 10th highest in the United States. While cities like Austin and Houston flourish with their booming tech and corporate sectors, many rural and remote areas of Texas experience deep economic hardship. In these less developed regions, access to quality education, healthcare, and stable employment remains a significant challenge. The divide between urban affluence and rural poverty is stark, with many residents living far removed from the prosperity enjoyed in the major metropolitan areas. In 2023, Texas reported a homeless population of 27,377, highlighting how uneven the distribution of economic growth has been. The state's rapid urban expansion has not translated into universal benefits for all its residents, leaving many struggling on the periphery of its economic success. New York, home to the iconic skyline of Manhattan, Times Square's dazzling lights, and the sprawling greenery of Central Park, is often viewed as a symbol of global wealth and prosperity. However, beneath the glittering facade lies a state grappling with a poverty rate of 14.3%, revealing significant economic inequality. Although New York is a powerhouse of finance and culture, driven by the dominance of Wall Street, vast parts of the state, particularly in rural areas and certain urban neighborhoods, face serious economic difficulties. The state ranks 40th in economic opportunity, reflecting the uneven distribution of wealth and resources. The immigrant communities that have long contributed to New York's rich cultural tapestry continue to drive its vibrancy, but also underscore the diverse needs for better access to education, healthcare, and economic opportunities. While the state's financial sector exerts a powerful influence on the global economy, many residents remain on the outskirts of this prosperity, struggling to make ends meet in an increasingly expensive state. Oklahoma, often associated with the rugged landscapes of America's rural heartland, faces a high poverty rate of 15.7%. While cities like Tulsa and Oklahoma City have experienced economic growth, particularly due to the oil and gas industries, the overall economic reality for many residents does not align with this image of prosperity. Oklahoma ranks 45th in economic opportunity, illustrating the struggle that many citizens endure in accessing education and stable employment. Oklahoma's history of boom and bust cycles, driven by the oil industry, shaped its modern economy. The oil booms of the early 20th century brought rapid growth, but the Great Depression and the devastating Dust Bowl of the 1930s left lasting scars on the state's economic landscape. Today, Oklahoma remains heavily dependent on its natural resources. But this reliance also makes it vulnerable to the unpredictable nature of these industries. Additionally, the state lies in the notorious Tornado Alley, with Oklahoma City having been struck by more than 170 tornadoes since the late 19th century. These natural and economic challenges continue to affect large segments of the population, leaving many without the stability enjoyed by the relatively few who benefit from the state's energy sectors. Alabama, with its deep roots in Southern culture and rich history, faces significant socioeconomic challenges, reflected in its 16.2% poverty rate. While cities like Birmingham are experiencing a revival through burgeoning business centers and tourism, much of the state's rural areas remain economically marginalized. Alabama ranks 44th in economic opportunity, highlighting the difficulties many residents face in finding stable, high-quality jobs, despite growth in some urban sectors. Major cities like Birmingham, Montgomery, and Huntsville are evolving, benefiting from developments in technology and tourism. Huntsville, for instance, is home to the U.S. Space and Rocket Center, a vital hub for space research and a popular tourist destination. However, despite these advancements, many rural communities struggle with persistent poverty. The economic gains made in urban centers have yet to fully trickle down to the state's rural regions, leaving large portions of the population without access to the prosperity seen in Alabama's more developed areas. Kentucky, often associated with its iconic horse racing traditions and renowned bourbon industry, faces the stark reality of a 16.5% poverty rate. Though cities like Louisville and Lexington are thriving with industrial growth and service sectors, the state's rural areas, particularly in the Appalachian region, remain trapped in deep poverty cycles. Ranking 46th in economic opportunity, Kentucky struggles to provide adequate access to education and job training, making it difficult for many residents to improve their standard of living. The state, officially known as the Commonwealth of Kentucky, boasts a rich history, with early pioneers like Daniel Boone forging the Wilderness Road in the late 1700s, opening the area to settlers. Kentucky's economy also heavily relies on agriculture, producing large quantities of corn, soybeans, hay, and wheat, while being a world leader in bourbon production. Despite its economic potential and cultural heritage, the state continues to grapple with significant poverty and social inequality, particularly in its rural regions, where economic stagnation remains a harsh reality for many. Arkansas, with a poverty rate of 16.8%, presents a complex contrast between wealth and widespread poverty. While Bentonville, the headquarters of Walmart, one of the world's largest corporations, has flourished economically, many rural parts of the state have not shared in this prosperity. The state's overall development lags behind, particularly in the more remote areas where economic opportunities are sparse. Geographically, Arkansas is diverse, featuring mountains, river valleys, forests, and lakes, making it a state of natural beauty. Hot Springs National Park is one of its most famous attractions, drawing visitors with its healing waters and scenic landscapes. Historically, after the Civil War and during the Reconstruction era, the expansion of railroads helped connect Arkansas to major cities, providing new economic opportunities for farmers and industrial workers. However, during World War II, many Arkansans left the state in search of better-paying jobs elsewhere, and approximately 10% of the population served in the military. Today, despite its natural and economic resources, Arkansas continues to struggle with poverty and economic disparity, especially in its rural regions, where the benefits of modern economic development have yet to fully materialize. New Mexico, with a poverty rate of 17.6%, struggles with significant economic challenges despite its rich cultural heritage and stunning landscapes. While cities like Santa Fe draw global tourists with their vibrant art scene, distinctive adobe architecture, and multicultural history, many locals face harsh economic realities. The state is known as the Land of Enchantment for its breathtaking deserts, mountains, and diverse cultures. But the enchantment often masks deep economic struggles for a large portion of its population. New Mexico's economy is heavily reliant on its natural resources, particularly oil and gas, with the Permian Basin being one of the largest oil fields in the country. However, outside of this energy sector, economic opportunities are limited, especially in the state's more rural areas. Poverty is particularly acute in regions with large Native American and Hispanic populations, where access to education, healthcare, and jobs remains a persistent issue. Though the state is rich in national parks, monuments, and historic sites that celebrate its Native American and Hispanic roots, these attractions have not been enough to lift all of its residents out of poverty, leaving many struggling to find stable footing in an economically divided state. West Virginia, with a poverty rate of 17.9%, faces deep economic challenges despite its wealth of natural beauty and outdoor tourism opportunities. Historically dependent on the coal industry, the state has been hit hard by the decline in coal production in recent years, which has had a severe impact on local economies that were built around this once booming industry. West Virginia separated from Virginia during the Civil War in 1861 to form its own state, and during the Reconstruction era, its natural resources, including coal and timber, became crucial to its economic development. Coal mining fueled the state's economy for decades and played a pivotal role in the Industrial Revolution, with West Virginia's bituminous coal serving as a cheaper alternative to wood. However, the recent downturn in coal production has left many communities struggling with unemployment and economic uncertainty. Environmental and safety concerns in the mining sector further complicate efforts to revive the economy. As West Virginia grapples with these issues, the state's rural communities, in particular, face significant barriers to economic growth and improved living conditions. Louisiana, famous for its vibrant music scene, Creole cuisine, and the exuberance of Mardi Gras, is also one of the poorest states in the country, with a poverty rate of 18.6%. While New Orleans dazzles with its cultural richness, jazz-filled streets, and annual festivals, many residents in rural areas struggle with economic hardships that are often overshadowed by the state's festive image. Louisiana's vulnerability to natural disasters, particularly hurricanes, has exacerbated its economic challenges. Hurricane Katrina in 2005 caused widespread destruction, especially in New Orleans, displacing thousands of residents and causing billions of dollars in damage. Even years later, the effects of Katrina are still felt in the form of ongoing recovery and rebuilding efforts. Despite these challenges, Louisiana continues to draw millions of visitors to attractions like the French Quarter and its famed Mardi Gras celebrations. Yet, beyond the allure of its culture and festivals, Louisiana's rural areas continue to battle high poverty rates, poor access to health care, and economic instability. Mississippi holds the unfortunate distinction of having the highest poverty rate in the United States at 19.1%. Known as the birthplace of blues music and home to a rich cultural and historical legacy, Mississippi is also marked by severe economic inequality. Despite its cultural contributions, the state struggles with entrenched poverty that impacts a large percentage of its population. Mississippi's history is complex, with early European exploration in the 16th century followed by periods of Spanish, British, and French control until the French and Indian War. By the mid-19th century, the state was a leading cotton producer, its economy driven by slave labor. The Civil War left Mississippi devastated, with thousands of lives lost and significant economic decline. After the war, the Mississippi Delta became the cradle of blues music, born out of the struggles and spiritual traditions of African American communities. However, racial discrimination and segregation dominated much of the 20th century, pushing many African Americans to leave the state in search of better opportunities, part of the larger Great Migration that saw millions leave the South. Today, Mississippi's economy relies heavily on agriculture and forestry, with products like farm-raised catfish, sweet potatoes, cotton, and timber pulp. However, the state remains mired in poverty, with limited access to education and economic opportunities continuing to hinder progress for much of the population. Despite its rich heritage, Mississippi faces pressing economic and social challenges that demand immediate attention and long-term solutions.